If I could encourage any business owners in any way, if you don't know what Claude is, you don't know what Grok is, you don't know what Gemini is, everybody's heard of ChatGPT. If you don't know anything about those, I would highly encourage you to reach out to somebody that could teach you a few things, because that's the way I learn. I know that this is the future, and I had to start racking up my 10,000 hours.
It's a tool to be used where, like, I don't know a whole lot about being a CFO, so I would just take whatever it said as gospel truth. Whereas you might look at it and be like, Coach, what are you doing, bro?
I do remember back, Coach Clark, to when the iPhone came out.
Me too.
And it's only been a little over 20 years ago. And look at how much the world has changed just with that one tool. So this is just another tool. If you're not using it and applying that in your business and trying to figure out how to make yourself more profitable or more efficient, you're going to be left behind.
This is the Clark Connection Podcast, where 12 years of coaching championships meets real-world leadership. Coach Clark broke through at the highest levels. Now he's bringing you the playbook. Every week, real leaders, real wins. Real strategies you can use Monday morning. If you're done with theory and ready for results, this is your show. You in? Let's go!
And welcome back to the Clark Connection Podcast. I'm your host, Aaron Clark, aka The Coach, a leadership speaker, trainer, and coach. And I want to thank you for joining us for another episode focused on leadership, personal growth, and entrepreneurship. Today's guest is Chris King, founder and CEO of Next Level Solutions. He helps small and medium-sized businesses leverage technology, systems, and AI to operate more efficiently, make better decisions, and ultimately grow their businesses. But before we jump in, I want to take a brief moment to shout out our sponsors. The Clark Connection Podcast is powered by Coach Clark Leadership and Development. At Coach Clark Leadership and Development, we help businesses, churches, schools, and organizations develop strong leaders through leadership training, executive coaching, team building, and keynote speaking. Our mission is simple: help leaders grow so their people, teams, and organizations can too. To learn more about our services, visit CoachAClark.com. Quick question. If someone asked ChatGPT, Gemini, or Perplexity for the best company in your industry, would your business even be mentioned? More and more, customers aren't searching the way they used to. They're asking AI for recommendations. And if your business isn't showing up there, you're missing opportunities before people ever visit your website. That's where TrueScaler comes in. They specialized in generative engine optimization, or GEO, helping businesses become more visible across today's AI platforms like ChatGPT, Gemini, Perplexity, and more. If you're ready to prepare your business for the future of search, visit TrueScaler.com and learn how GEO can help your business get found where customers are searching next. This episode of the Clark Connection Podcast is proudly brought to you by Hubbard Flooring Studio. Leadership, growth, and success all start with a strong foundation. And that's exactly what you'll find at Hubbard Flooring Studio. Vicki and her team help homeowners and businesses create spaces that combine quality, craftsmanship, and style. Whether you're updating a single room, remodeling your entire home, or finishing a new construction project, Hubbard Flooring Studio offers flooring solutions and custom blinds designed to bring both beauty and functionality to your space. If you're ready to work with a team that takes pride in getting the details right, visit hubbardflooringstudio.com or call 225-924-1582. Shout out to Steadfast Electric for supporting the show. With hurricane season here, now is the time to think about protecting your home and family. BJ and his team specialize in whole home generators that keep your lights on, your food cold, and your household running when the power goes out. Learn more at steadfastelectric.com or call 225-364-9218. I want to give a shout out to Dr. Bob Smith, chiropractic internist, for sponsoring today's episode. Dr. Bob focuses on identifying the root cause of pain and dysfunction, not just covering up symptoms. If your body isn't performing the way it should, this is the kind of care that looks deeper. Learn more at brspine.com or call 225-291-2626. Dr. Bob Smith, finding the root cause, not just chasing symptoms. A big thanks to Automate Integrate Professional Services for backing the show. Andrew helps businesses simplify, automate, and integrate their systems so leaders stop wasting time on manual work and start focusing on growth. Visit automate-integrate.com or email Andrew at automate-integrate.com. Automate Integrate, systems that work so you don't have to overwork. We appreciate each of our sponsors and everything they do to support this show and the communities that they serve. If you're enjoying these conversations, be sure to subscribe to the Clark Connection podcast on YouTube and follow the show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Music. You can also connect with us on social media by searching at Coach Clark Leadership. And make sure you do this so you never miss an episode live stream or a leadership resource. Now, if you've ever been talking to anyone about AI and wondering what it actually means for your business, this episode's for you. Chris breaks down the biggest misconceptions, why so many businesses struggle to implement it effectively, and how leaders can begin using AI as a practical tool to improve proficiency, probability, decision-making, and we also dive into entrepreneurship, leadership, ownership, continuous learning, faith, resilience, and what it really takes to build a business that lasts. So let's get into it. Here's my conversation with Chris King. And Chris, welcome to the show, man.
It's great to be here.
Yeah, I appreciate you getting on. And I was just telling everybody that you're CEO, founder of Next Level Solutions. So tell us a little bit more. What is Next Level Solutions?
Sure. We are we call ourselves a small business support organization, and we help small and medium-sized businesses in the areas of accounting, CFO advisory, human resources, and the use of technology in the business. And so, just to expand on the technology piece a little bit, for the last 6 or 7 years, it's been software selection, implementation, that kind of evolved into some custom development and integrating APIs to connect systems. And then it kind of moved into automating processes. And now we are full blown integrating artificial intelligence into that. And so that's kind of an exciting place to be. But there are a lot of people out there doing it. And, but it's just really, because at first I was not sure, when AI came out, I thought, okay, great, but how? I couldn't really see how we were going to use it in business. And that is all becoming crystal clear and, just growing quickly every day. So, anyway, that's what we do, who we are and what we do.
Yeah. So with the AI integration, how do you go about helping your clients? They bring that on, because I feel like there's a lot of people that are still very like AI, no shot.
Yeah, it really it's interesting. We've put a lot of thought into this. So thank you for. Sorry, somebody was trying to call me. Thank you for giving me an opportunity. Well, maybe you can cut that out. Can you edit that part out? Okay. So ask me that question again, and I'll start over.
Yeah. So like with the AI integration, how are you maybe helping your clients they overcome that? Because I feel like there's still a lot of people that are like AI, no shot.
Yeah. And it's true. Well, number one, a lot of people, small business owners especially have their head buried so far in their business. They don't spend the time working on the business. That's one of the first challenges. They can't, they perceive it as this enormous mountain to climb. and that's another deterrent. Some of them just have their head in the sand, and that's not going to end well in 5 years for them. If you're ignoring it. But the biggest challenge with small businesses in adopting AI is that small businesses are notorious for poor business process, lack of systems, and tagging data and having data flow through the organization in a concise way. Like, for example, I have a client, they're great with this stuff, and every order, sales, everything's tied to a single number as it moves through the organization. I mean, that's a dream for AI, right? Like an order number or project number, and having all of the things tied to that. But it's this spaghetti bowl of processes that that AI can't really help much. And so there's a human element of unwinding that spaghetti and turning it, kind of beginning to help create sustainable processes. That's really, that's where we can begin to really make some progress with AI. But yeah, I've kind of put business owners in 3 buckets so far from what I've observed. You've got you've got those people with their head in the sand. They're just are not even attempting to address it, and they're going to be in trouble in 5 years. This is moving so rapidly. Then you have, so that's your flat line, right? And then you have these people that are using AI. They're the do-it-yourselfers. They're getting in there and they're, never written a line of code in their life, and they're having a conversation with Claude and writing apps, creating apps and doing things, and they're using it for whatever purposes, but they're leveraging the AI's knowledge as an expert. And then, of course, who knows what's going to happen with that, right? I have my own predictions, but then there's the set of people that are really getting the most out of it, that leverage the knowledge of a professional. And I'll give you some examples of that. I've hired an AI coach. I have a guy that's been coaching me on AI personally. I mean, I've got development capabilities on the team and people that know it, but personally, I've really challenged myself to begin using it in what I do every day. And but this layer of people that are using AI as experts are harnessing so much more out of it. And let me give you an example of that. Somebody who's never written a line of code in their life is not going to get nearly as much out of AI as a software engineer, just because it's and somebody who has, and I'm a contract CFO. I do a lot of contract CFO work. Somebody that has no experience as a CFO can go ask some CFO questions and get some answers and get some spreadsheets, but they aren't going to nearly leverage the capabilities and be able to troubleshoot and test the validity of the outputs than someone that's a CFO that's using AI. So I'm seeing those companies are being the ones that are most effective in getting the most out of AI. So it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. This is just my opinion, and of course I'm an expert at my opinion, right, Coach Clark?
Yes, I mean I believe I'm an expert at my opinions too. It's amazing. But I think that you said something important with that is that AI is not the be all end all on it. It's a tool to be used, whereas like, I don't know a whole lot about being a CFO. So I would just take whatever it said as gospel truth. Whereas you might look at it and be like, Coach, what are you doing, bro?
Well, and look, I recently worked on a project that would have normally taken me 2 weeks of my time to do. And in 3.5 hours, the outputs are so much better than what I could have done. And it's really painted this picture to me of like, oh my gosh, you're one of the professions that's going to really be impacted. I always thought it was the accounting and and there are, and that the lower level processes and data entry, and that is certainly all on the table, but not until that spaghetti bowl is unwound, right? You gotta have processes in place and ways to analyze and parse the data to actually let AI do anything with it and have it be reliable. But I'm telling you, AI makes a lot of mistakes. And
Yes.
I
Yes.
know, because I work with Claude a lot on some analytical work, and combining reports and creating spreadsheets with that. And the wonderful thing about it, though, is you can point out and you can say, hey, you made a mistake here. I need you to go figure out what you did wrong and fix it. And it can do it. It can go back and go, oh, you're right, I did make a mistake there. I ran this process before I ran this one, and it'll explain to you what it's doing. It's really fascinating. But
Oh, it is very
yeah,
much so.
so it's something, though, and it's out there. And if you're not using it and you're not applying that in your business and trying to figure out how to make yourself more profitable, or more efficient, and thus more profitable, you're going to be left behind.
No, I agree with that too, man. But the one, like, I was at a conference or luncheon conference, whatever you want to call it, and that's what they were talking about with AI on it. And because I find the whole stuff fascinating, that just how it works, and I can give it, if I'm making a presentation on LSU football, I can say, hey, I want to talk about these 3 things. Go give me like 10 examples for each one, and it's like, boom, here you go. Whereas that would have taken me that 2 weeks or something, like you'd said it. All right, here's my 10 examples on each. I want to use this one, and this one. Cool. This one, and this one. And it makes it does all the basic admin work for you. And you have to, like you said, go and check it, but it still can't replace that human connection.
Correct.
Not yet.
Yeah. But it's a tool, right? So,
yes.
I mean, I think back to when electricity was invented, right? What a wonderful,
you were around for that?
Wonderful tool to harness. Almost, not quite. No, I'm so glad I didn't. I'm an AC guy, so I could not have done well. My wife and I we watch these old shows, period dramas, and she's just like, you would have never made it in that time. And I'm like, nope. But no, but electricity, the washing machine, right? The dishwasher. This is just the cell phone. I do remember back, Coach Clark, to when the iPhone came out.
Me too.
And it was around 2000. Was it 2005, 2008?
It was like 5 or 6. Yeah.
Yeah, somewhere in there. And it's only been 20, a little over 20 years ago. And look at how much the world has changed just with that one tool. So this is just another tool. It's kind of like money. Money is amoral. Money's not good or bad. You can use money, it's like a brick. This is a Dave Ramsey thing. This is one of his examples. You could take a brick, you could build a hospital with it, or you could take a brick and you can kill somebody. The brick is amoral. So money can be a horrible thing or it can be a great thing. Social media. I've seen social media be a horrible thing for relationships and bullying, and and there are all these things that can be spread through social media. But I've also seen social media leveraged for ministry work and for good things. And so I really feel like AI is the same way. It behaves in the hands of its master. It's going to amplify whatever the user is using it to do. Whatever that user is, it's going to make them more of what they already are.
If you're getting value from today's episode, take a second to like, follow, and subscribe to the Clark Connection podcast so you'll never miss a future conversation on leadership, growth, and success. Let's dive back into today's topic. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think it's like you said too, the ones that are the head in the sand people that I'm not going to use that. I'm not going to do it. And it's like, well, you're probably going to be out of business in 5 years. That because your competitors are.
Yeah. That's right. And of course, it all depends on the industry and what have you. But and look, everybody in the marketplace is so fatigued with all of the AI discussion. It's like I struggle to market what we're doing with AI. It's because everybody's trying to sell everybody some course or some package. Um, and there's a lot of fatigue around. I think people have just gotten to the point where they're like, yeah, AI, whatever. It doesn't make it go away though. It's there. There's a book, Malcolm Gladwell, the book Outliers, and it talks about this concept of 10,000 hours of this to become an expert. And that's literally been my mindset. I just made up my mind that, like, I don't really, using it myself. I'm not a developer, but I know that this is the future, and I had to start racking up my 10,000 hours. And so several months ago, I just started that journey. And it's crazy when you just start, the things you learn and the things you see and the things you interact with, and even with just a little bit of guidance, what comes to your mind that, oh wow, that's I could do this with, I could knock this out with AI. And that's kind of where I'm at now. I'm thinking of 3 or 4 things every day that I would have never thought of because I've actually started using it. So if I could encourage any business owners in any way, if you don't know what Claude is, you don't know what Grok is, you don't know what Gemini is. Everybody's heard of Chat GPT, I think, by now.
What's
But
Chat GPT?
yeah, right, except for you. If I could encourage a business owner, if you don't know anything about those, just like the beautiful thing is you can ask the AI to tell you how to get started, and it'll get you started. Now that puts you in that middle group of people where you're the do-it-yourselfer, which that's better than having your head in the sand. But I would highly encourage you to reach out to somebody that could teach you a few things and show you a few things, because that's the way I learn. But anyway.
And no, it's important. And that's what I think is awesome. Even seeing, hey, here is Chris King. He's a CEO, a very successful company, and you're going out and hiring a coach to learn something else. I think that's important for people to know, is it's not enough just because you only know what you know. And so when you don't know something, you got to go learn more. It's important that you go and are constantly learning. Like you said, just start.
Yeah.
Just start.
Well, you think about, Rocky had a coach, right? Mm-hmm. Rocky had a guide. And, man, when you have somebody that's, somebody that can just point you in the right direction and show you a few things, it's just such a game changer.
It is. And I think that's so important too. Like, having that outside voice that's pretty unbiased. Like, they don't care. Like, I hate to say that they don't care, but they're just looking at it and going, did that wrong.
Yeah.
And their only goal is to make you better.
Yep.
So
that's right.
Yeah. Now, I want to circle back. You had mentioned something working with small businesses that I thought was a good thing. You said too many of them are working in the business and not on the business. Like, can you elaborate on what you mean by that?
Sure. Well, it's perspective. Okay. So if you take a wool blanket, well, maybe that's a bad example, but an orange, right? And if I hold an orange an inch from my eye, and I open my eyes and I'm looking at the surface of that orange, and I'm like, what is this? Right. Or if I'm looking at it in a microscope, right, and I'm way down in the weeds, so to speak, it looks completely different than what it looks like from 10 feet back or from 30,000 feet back. And I just think that's, as leaders, we have to operate at 30,000 feet or 60,000 feet sometimes. And sometimes we do need to go down into the weeds and get a little closer. But, we do business with a lot of different companies. And I tell people all the time, our best clients are the ones that review the work that we do. They're interested in the reports. They want to know more about their business. They want to use the data to make decisions. They want to meet quarterly and look at their tax liability and how it's trending for the year and how they could possibly leverage some different deductions or some different moves that might help alleviate a tax liability. Those clients they don't have their heads so far in the business, because if you've got your head so far in the business and you're just worried about orders and receivables and billing and whatever, sales and this client and that client problem, and you're not really sitting back and looking at your business from on high and being critical, it's you miss a lot in as far as the direction you could go and the improvements you could make or the places that you're bleeding. And so anyway, that's I don't know if that helps you understand. It's the difference between being in the weeds and sitting back and thinking high level strategically, having a strategic plan, or having some budget planning, or looking at budget versus actuals, identifying key performance indicators. What are the things in the business I need to be watching? What's working, what's not working? And if you're just in the day to day and you're doing the day to day, you don't have any of that perspective.
Right. And that was kind of where I was wanting you to get to elaborate a little bit, as you had mentioned it, because a lot of times when we start our own businesses, we started because we were good at something. And so I can do this on my own. And so if I'm good at sales, I naturally gravitate towards getting in and, let me see if I can outsell Chris, and vice versa, instead of being able to come back like you were talking about and pulling that away from it to go, where are we? We were supposed to be in Orlando. What in the world are we doing in Idaho? But if you only do it once a year, you'll never catch it, versus if you're overlooking the whole thing and go, ooh, we've gotten off course. Let me get back on track.
Yeah. Speaking about, what did you say? Orlando and Idaho were those two cities you used? James Clear has the book Atomic Habits, talks about the slightest change, these little micro changes, and the slightest change in direction over time can take you to completely different places. And the example he uses in the book is that an airplane, I don't remember the exact cities, but I think it's New York. If you take off for New York and you're headed for LA and you change your heading just the slightest bit and you're not paying attention,
1 degree,
you'll end up in Seattle, right? Because that little bit of a change over the distance of the country puts you in a completely different place. So if you're not monitoring your heading pretty regularly, you end up different places. And look, I don't want to sit here like I got it all figured out. I've had stuff happen to me where I didn't see something coming, and you wake up and you step back and you're like, man, what have I done? Where I'm in the wrong place. And so it happens to all of us, but if you don't step back and get some perspective, you can't pick up on that.
Right. No, and that's why I was like, let me get you to talk on that a little bit more, because I think that's an important thing for all of us to know, is you're not going to have all the answers. And I absolutely love that book, Atomic Habits. I use that all the time because I think it was from, if you took off from LAX going to New York, if you change your heading just 1 degree south, you'll end up in Washington, D.C. A quick thank you to our premium sponsor, Hubbard Flooring Studio. Whether you're upgrading your floors, refreshing a room, or adding custom blinds to complete the look, Vicky and her team are committed to quality workmanship and exceptional service. Learn more at hubbardflooringstudio.com or call 225-924-1582. Let's get back to building better leaders.
I'm on the return trip, right? Yeah.
You're on the return trip. You already made it there. You ahead of me.
Yeah.
But it's it's crucial. Like, I'd even got one of my math friends to break down. I was like, so what if this was like 100 yards? Like, how far would that, just changing it was like 1 degree, if you started off in the end zone, like on the goal line, going down the sideline, and you just change it just 1 degree, it puts you like 5 yards away from the sideline and just 100 yards. I was like, that's a lot, even in a short time frame.
Yeah. So once again, though, it's perspective, right? It's back to the whole thing about perspective and being aware of where you're headed and where you want to go and where you want to end up versus where you are. And if you're in the weeds and in the business and you're not taking any time to look at those gauges, you're going to end up wherever you end up, and you're going to be surprised you're there. And that's
right.
That's not fun, because I've lived it.
Yeah. And so, speaking of kind of switching gears, one of the questions that I had from your questionnaire that you'd filled out for me was the start of your professional journey or your background experience. And you said you started your entrepreneur journey at the age of 12. So what was that first journey, man, or first business?
So, yeah, I grew up sort of privileged, sort of, I'll remove that. And when I was about that age, we had an unfortunate turn of events. And so I learned at age 12 what it was like to have the silver spoon ripped out of your mouth and the rug ripped out from under you. And I learned that that's money's where work is where money comes from. And so I've been working a long time, and I've always had just this passion for entrepreneurship. And when I was about 12 years old, one of the things I did was I started buying old like junk bicycles, or I would just pull it out of the trash or whatever. And I would completely disassemble it, strip it down, paint it, refurb it, get new tires or whatever I needed to do. And then I would either sell those bikes, or I had a leasing program where I would for payments, I would let one of the neighborhood kids ride the bike. And then, of course, if they didn't pay the bill, you'd repossess the bike and redeploy it somewhere else. So those are like the early days of and I can remember my mother was in therapy at the time, and she was seeing this doctor because she had been through a lot, and it was a big change in our lives. And she was telling the doctor she thought something was wrong with me because I was just disassembling everything. And he said that's one of the healthiest things he can be doing. So but yeah, just early childhood memories. I can remember lemonade stands, and I don't know if you call this entrepreneurship, but I remember one Christmas that my best friend and I stood out at the corner and would stop cars and sing Christmas carols for tips. That's not much different than our buddy Matt Holt playing music with his tip jar out there, but he probably sings a little better, than what we were doing. But yeah, that was when the journey started. And throughout my life, I have experienced, failure at times that it's not fun, and a lot of growing pains from that, but it's a journey more than anything else. I was just talking to a friend on the phone about, you said next level is this successful, thriving business. And look, and I really love and appreciate that perspective. But from the perspective of the guy here, sometimes I feel like I'm just, slogging it uphill and hanging on by my fingertips. Entrepreneurship is, I heard one person describe it as going from exhilaration to sheer terror in 24-hour cycles. And I've certainly experienced that a lot of, in a lot of my journey.
Yeah, no, I definitely feel you on that. Cause definitely can be exhilarating. And then I almost feel like it's on hourly cycles.
Yeah. Yes, that's right. It could go hourly. So preach.
Yes, it can't, but I think that's why we do it. It's, people ask me all the time, like, what would you ever go back into coaching football? It's like, if I could only do Friday night. Yes. Because that was like the most exhilarating 3.5 hours that you could spend all week because of the ups and the downs and the everything else. But man, to go back and do the other 100 hours, I'm good.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think I could ever work for, I mean, I work for a lot of people now, obviously clients, but, and team members. That's part of the leadership, right? You work for your people. And, but I don't know. I don't know that I could ever go to work for somebody as an employee again. I just don't know if I could do it. I don't know if I don't know. I would say I'm having too much fun, but sometimes it's not much fun. And sometimes it's a whole lot of fun. But I don't know. It's what I was made to do, I guess.
Yeah. And so speaking of, what was it? How did you come to starting Next Level Solutions?
So in my late 20s, I had made an attempt at starting a business. I was 26, 27, somewhere in there. And like starting my first legitimate, non-bicycle leasing business, non-lemonade stand version, something that was registered with the Secretary of State. And I really didn't know what I was doing. I could sell. I knew given where I was in my professional journey, I knew a good bit about serving the customer, but that was about it. And all of the things that I do now, I didn't know much about. And so I spent, after 3 years that ended, it's the hardest thing I've ever done is walk in, and I watched my dad wither away with cancer on a 6-year, after a 6-year remission. This was the worst thing I've ever been through, is having to walk in and tell a group of 20 people on a Monday morning that not only did they not have a job, but I didn't have the money to pay them for the last 2 weeks worth of work. And, just ended in failure. And, but I got back up, and we got back on the horse, and a few weeks, that business shut down, and ended up putting together another idea. And within a few weeks I was back on the horse, and it was a really, really hard time. And I don't know much, about, not to bring faith into this, but that's when I really started my faith journey. It was pretty awful. And so, but then the next years of my life, and in my educational experience and my professional experience and entrepreneurial experience, I spent building the skill set. And I started Next Level Solutions 13 years ago. It was 13 years old on April Fool's Day this year, which is Matt Holt's birthday, by the way. He's an April Fool's baby.
Yeah.
So anyway, and for those of you who keep wondering who this Matt Holt guy is, he's a friend of ours, musician, Next Level team member, and he's a good guy. But he's in April. He was born on April Fool's Day. So was Next Level. And I've spent all of this time now trying to leverage the pain and the wisdom from that failure to help other people.
Well, and I think that's important for people to know too, is that it wasn't, I mean, yeah, you didn't succeed or you failed or whatever, but you learned from it. So it wasn't truly a failure. And yeah, I'm not afraid to bring faith into it at all. I very much will confess I'm a Christian believer in Christ, so that we can talk about that all day. And I think it's cool how God will use certain situations to say, all right, Chris, you're not where I want you. We're going to break it down. We're going to build a new foundation. And now we're going to pick you up over here. And that way you can go help those people who were where you were. Because who else can speak to them better than somebody who lived it? Today's episode is brought to you by TrueScaler. Search is changing. Customers aren't using Google anymore. They're asking AI tools like ChatGPT, Gemini, and Perplexity for recommendations. TrueScaler helps businesses show up in those AI-generated answers through generative engine optimization, so your company is easier to discover when it matters most. Learn more at TrueScaler.com because the future of search is already here. Now back to the conversation.
And I've actually had the privilege of doing that a few times where young business owners were in a bad spot and having to wind things down, facing failure, and to be able to say, look, this is exactly what's going to happen. And here's how, there's a certain comfort to sit with them and their spouses and to say, this is going to be okay. It's just a moment in time.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's not the end of the world. It's not the first one that I failed at.
And none of us are defined by our worst failures.
I mean, imagine what would have happened had Abraham Lincoln just gave up.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
You want to talk about a failure, from the time he was 21. And I mean, you could even say the presidency up until that point, he was a failure because the country divided over him. But he's widely now regarded as the best president we ever had.
Yep. Yes, sir.
All because he refused to quit. And so that's really cool. So in business 13 years now, I had all these other failures. I think one of the other things that I think is cool too is that we talk about is the how into work that working out you are. I think that's something that's how important is that to a business owner to have something outside of their business that they do?
Yeah, it's well, there are a few things that I do. My the things I do around my faith and trying to live a healthy life and to be strong. I mean, I just want to for me at 56 years old, I do lift heavy and I lift hard and I go after it, but it's really about longevity. Maintaining, just to age well. I want to be able to travel more, as I get older, and it's your body, the body is a temple and you only get one. And so I just try to do, the times that I can stamp out my food addiction and the times I want to eat bad food and, drink too much wine. I really do, want to feel good and want to look good and be strong. That's a huge part. And it's a sanctuary to get away and to let your thoughts roam in your head, and doing hard things is good for all people.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I agree. That's one of the things that I tell people. They got to have something outside of their business that they do. It can't just all be, hey, I work 80 hours a week. Great. What do you do outside of work? Well, nothing. Okay. You got to get away because you can't, like you were saying, you can't be in the business all the time. You have to sometimes work on the business. And some of the best ways to do that is to get back and reflect and to think, okay, what could I have done? Sharpen that saw, as Stephen Covey likes to say.
Yeah,
go sharpen it, man. And so, speaking of, I'm gonna kind of start winding it down a little bit.
Sure.
I believe that all leaders are readers, but not all readers are leaders. Leaders are learners. They're constantly evolving and trying to get better. So, what would be one book that you would recommend that all leaders or entrepreneurs read?
So, and that's a great question. I've mentioned a couple of books here that have given me thoughts that I still remember and apply. The book Extreme Ownership, it's written by two Navy SEALs, Jocko Willink and Leif Babin, really radically shifted the way that I lead people. And, the thesis of it is everything's your fault. And everything, whatever happens, if something goes wrong, don't even begin with blaming someone else. Look inwardly at what things you could have done differently to, could you have trained better? Could you have been more clear with the instructions? Could you have XYZ? And and that in it, the way the book's written is, I'm a huge special ops mindset guy, like that plays into the gym, that plays into business, it plays into everything. But what I love about that book is these two guys are retired Navy SEALs, and so they'll tell a story about a real life mission or a battle scenario that they were in, and then they'll flip it around and they'll talk about how that applies to business or to life. And so it really spoke to me. And then the follow up to that book is the dichotomy of leadership, that that while you do want to take extreme ownership, there is a dichotomy that you can't, you've got to look at it from both perspectives. And so it's kind of the answer to the critics of extreme ownership, is the dichotomy of leadership. Those are two books that I really enjoyed and that were really impactful.
Yeah, extreme ownership is the next on my list to read. So like I'm finishing up the Let Them theory, and I was like, I'm going to read this book. Like I've had it on my shelf now for about 6 months, and said I'm going to read Extreme Ownership. I've been saying I'm going to. So I'm excited about that, but it's definitely never my fault. It might be your fault, but it's never my fault. Vote for Aaron Clark 2043. Practice for my political life,
That's
I can't
right.
ever be.
Good luck with that. I got two skeletons.
Oh, dude, I don't see why anybody wants that. I'm glad we have leaders that want that, but good night. Ugh. But I think it too touches on, like you talked about, like how you view leadership as well, was that it's just another fancy word for, hey, I serve my people. I serve the group that I lead. And it goes so countercultural that we're getting to everything, and that, hey, when next level solution fails, that there's nobody to look at other than Chris King. Same thing. Coach Clark leadership fails. Now, I'm not going to blame everybody else around me. What did I do? What did I do that didn't cause it to be successful? And I think that's so powerful.
And just becoming comfortable with that reality, and there's a piece that comes with somebody that says, I'm sorry, I messed that up. And you say, you didn't mess it up. It was my fault. I should have done XYZ better. Let's try to do that in the future. Sends a pretty interesting message.
I want to take our relationship to the next level. Let's become social media friends. Follow me at Coach Clark Leadership, and let's keep the conversation going in between episodes. Now let's get back to the connection. Like we'd said earlier, you only know what you know. So if we didn't, as the leader, communicate that to them, well, how did they know that we wanted it done like that? Or that we had already tried that one and it didn't work like that? We should have gave them the forewarning or whatever, I love that. I love that. Now, what about like something that you're either currently reading, they maybe just finished reading, or even trying to learn outside of something like this?
Yeah. So I just, one that I finished recently, or there are two books by Father Greg Boyle. I think it's Boyle, Boyle. I'll have to double check me on that. It might be, or Boyles. Anyway, he has a ministry with the gangs in LA. And the first one is called Tattoos on the Heart, and then Barking to the Choir. So not everything that I consume or read is leadership based, because sometimes I just want something else. I might have a novel, right? Or but these books are about God's grace and love in dealing with these gang members and this ministry that he started called Homeboy Ministries. And actually my one of my pastors gave that book to me because I'm heavily involved in prison ministry at Angola. And a lot of it at most of the camps, but heavily on death row. And so the book really spoke to me because there are a lot of similarities in his tidbits of wisdom from ministering to gang members that I experience in my relationships with men on death row or in prison for life, for horrible crimes.
Mm-hmm. Well, and just kind of reading through the power of boundless compassion. I mean, that can easily be applied to what we're doing in our business. How compassionate are we when your team member doesn't hit the mark? Like, I mean, is it a heart thing with them? Is it something that maybe you didn't do? Or, I'm trying to remember who it was that I was listening to that they said, yeah, some guy just cost, one of my employees called me up and said, hey, I just cost you $100,000. I'm like, cool. Did you learn from it? not like, you idiot, you just cost me $100,000. Like, cool. Well, what'd you learn in the process? Like, you're not going to fire me? It's like, well, did you learn from it?
Great.
So just knowing that,
so that's one I recently finished and would highly recommend really for anybody. Tattoos on the Heart is the first one. It's really, really powerful book.
Absolutely. And then the last question that I always ask everybody is, what's something that I should have asked you that I didn't ask you?
Well, you should have asked me about my family because I'm married. I've been married for 30 years. I've got a beautiful wife that somehow manages to love me, and 2 daughters. My youngest is getting married in October, so got to pay for a wedding soon. Well, we're in the process of
congratulations
now. And already started paying for it. And their daughters are 29 and 25. And I'm a basset hound lover. I've had many basset hounds. Right now, we're down. We had 3 less than a year ago, and we're down to 1 now. But those pets are hard to lose. They're like children. But
yes, they are.
And that's about it. I mean, life is good. I'm that's just a little bit about me personally, and I mentioned prison ministry. You mentioned the gym. And then the only other thing about me and what I do with my time is I'm a church musician. So I'm actually, and I'm a fill-in backup 3rd string preacher. So I'm actually preaching on Father's Day at church. So yeah, that's just a little bit about me personally. And so I would just say to anybody out there that wants to help me pay for that wedding, give Next Level Solutions a call.
If you need any, give him help, your business. He needs money.
Kind of help, have some compassion on me. And,
hey, we could start a billboard campaign. We could just put you up there and
that's right. The Coach Clark GoFundMe.
Need money. Yeah, we'll start a GoFundMe because the weddings, I'm not looking forward to any of those. Mine are 19 and 15, so I'm not there yet, but
yeah,
I also have boys. So
rehearsal dinner, that's all you got to worry about.
Hey, God knew that's all he could trust me with.
That's right. So yeah, that's it. I appreciate you having me on though.
Yeah. Now, Chris, if anybody wants to reach out to you, get in touch with you, use Next Level, how do they get in touch with you?
So our web address is www.nextlevel, LEVELSOL, short for solutions, nextlevelsol.net. My email address is Chris at that same domain, nextlevelsol.net. You can follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, the Gram, X. So we would love to have you, we would love to have you as part of the family. And I would love to have a conversation with you about how you're using AI in your business.
Absolutely. And guys, all of that is listed below. So no need, if you're driving or whatever, don't panic. That whenever you get to where you're going, you just go in and then you can connect with Chris that way. So I do appreciate you spending a little time. Come and share with us about who you are, what you did, and all that good stuff, Chris. We'll definitely have to do it again, man.
Yes, sir. Enjoyed it. Thank you.
All right. See you soon.
All right. Bye.
What a great conversation with Chris. Today, we talked about how small businesses can approach artificial intelligence with confidence, why strong processes matter before implementing new technology, and how leaders can use AI as a tool to become more efficient without losing the human element that drives great organizations. We also discussed the importance of strategic thinking, personal growth, accountability, and resilience through failure, faith, and the mindset required to continue learning in a rapidly changing world. He reminded us that AI isn't something to fear or ignore. It's something leaders need to understand, practice, and intentionally leverage if they want to stay competitive in the years ahead. Before we wrap up, I want to once again thank our sponsors. We could not do any of this without your help and your support. So thank you from the bottom of our heart here at the Clark Connection Podcast. So be sure you connect with Chris King and Next Level Solutions using the links in the show notes. And if you found value in this, please subscribe, leave a review, and then share this conversation with a business owner, entrepreneur, or leader who you know that would benefit from it. And remember, you don't need to be great to get started, but you have to get started to be great. So keep leading, keep learning, keep connecting, and I'll see you on the next episode of the Clark Connection Podcast. Thanks for listening to the Clark Connection Podcast. If today's episode added value to you, do me a favor, follow the show and share it with someone who needs it. You can connect with me at my website, coachaclark.com, or on social media at Coach A. Clark. All the links are in the description. Until next time, keep leading, keep growing, and keep connecting.